All right, this is a Cover 3 podcast. This is our first episode. We're going to be doing a off-season review and training camp preview and season preview, I guess, for the NFC East. We'll be starting in the order we think they'll finish, starting from fourth to first. First team is the Washington Redskins. Tristan, you want to take it over real quick?
Yeah, the Washington Redskins, obviously last year, a disappointing season. Finished very disappointing. Finished low enough to have a high draft pick, but of course, because of the RG3 trade, didn't have a high draft pick. So,
No, they had it this year. This was the first year they've had a first-round draft pick in 3 years.
Oh, that's right. They took Chef.
Yep.
Right. They did. I forgot about that. They did. But going into the offseason, they made a lot of moves, mostly defensively. Signing a lot of guys, on that defensive line. And they just finished signing Ryan Kerrigan. What were the numbers for his deal? 5 years, $57.5 million.
Not worth it, in my opinion. He's a good player, but I don't think he's worth that type of money.
Well, sometimes you reward those guys. I mean, and he's not a great player. He'll probably never be a great player, but he is a good player, and he's consistent. He's a hard worker, and this guy did have 7 sacks in a game last year?
I don't think he had them. That would have been an NFL record.
5 sacks or something against Jacksonville.
Okay,
he torched them.
Yeah, Jacksonville. Anyone could torch them.
Yeah. I give it to you.
But they did lose Brian Orakpo on that defensive side, which is a huge loss.
So he basically took Orakpo's money.
Yeah, basically what Orakpo probably would have got if he stayed with Washington. He would have got, but like we know, Orakpo no longer a part of the team. He signed with the Tennessee Titans. So key loss there, but they did add Terrence Knighton, a.k.a. Pot Roast, as his nickname is, if he can stay healthy. And
yeah, all Washington fans are hoping that he doesn't just eat pot roast.
Yeah, pretty much. If he can stay healthy and get back in the shape he was whenever Denver made it to the Super Bowl, a lot of offensive linemen are going to have their hands full blocking him, and don't even really know who else they have on the edge. They
got a couple guys. They got take a look here because I totally forgot.
I did too. I can't think of anyone. But while he's looking that up, let's talk about the offense for a little bit. Can RG3 stay healthy is the big question. Honestly, I don't know. His play style, obviously, it's very much what a lot of guys are looking for in the NFL. An athletic guy who can spread the field with his arm and his feet and buy time. Unfortunately, RG3 has his cases of heavy feet where he buys time and then buys himself a one-way ticket to the hospital by running and tearing his ACL.
Yeah, the Redskins, they have a hard dilemma because, RG3, the bad thing about him is at his best, he's a dynamic dual threat. With Jay Gruden's offense, though, what you saw is they want him to stay in the pocket, and that's not necessarily his strength right now.
They're trying to do what Atlanta did with Michael Vick.
Yeah, and that, that's fine. That's fine. But at this point, I think you're going to have to give him a little bit more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
If you want the offense to expand to its fullest. It's not necessarily that he has to run all the time or he has to throw all the time. He has to find that balance. But is Jay Gruden letting him find that balance, or is Jay Gruden saying, you better stay in that pocket and run 1, 2, 3 before you even think about running?
They should do what Seattle's doing with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, very good at protecting the football. If they want RG3 to be their franchise quarterback for the next 10-plus years, sit him down in a film room and show him nothing but Russell Wilson tape. Because we've seen Russell Wilson protects the football, and if the play breaks down, then he runs.
But, it's tough, though, because with RG3, you see the reports. There's there's a lot that say that he's not as hard a worker as he should be. He's not first guy in, last one out. Does he want to, take that? Does he want to, does he take the criticism from Jay Gruden? We don't know. All we know is, bottom line, whatever the Redskins do, it comes down to RG3. Really,
Mm-hmm.
If you're not getting anything out of a quarterback position, you're not going to go very far. But
Well, they've already exercised their fifth option, so the front office people obviously think he is the guy. The question is, does Jay Gruden think he's the guy? When it comes down to it, at the end of the day, is Zach Snyder calling down Jay Gruden saying, hey, RG3 starting today? And is Jay Gruden just doing it because he wants to keep his job? Because Zach Snyder's one of those owners. If you're not doing what he says, your job's gone. And that's what it all comes down to. And we know he's got the weapons. He's got Alfred Morris in the backfield. He's got Pierre Garcon and Deshaun Jackson and what's the tight end's name? Jordan Reed.
But he's actually not there anymore.
I thought he was. Okay, well, scratch Jordan Reed.
Jordan Reed is gone.
Well,
but for the Redskins going into training camp, I think their main thing really is, even though they've got all these defensive signings, Stephen Paya and all these guys, it really is RG3. I mean, he has to show legitimate improvement in year 2. Fortunately for RG3, he is in the second year in this system. You got to think last year he was mostly healthy. This offseason he had to be completely healthy. So you hope that as a fan he's got this offense down now, and he can make a legitimate step in the revolution of this team has a running game. That's the one that quarterback's best friend is a running game. It's not a great wide receiver, it's a running game. So they got that with Alfred Morris and a couple other guys that they signed, but if he doesn't take a step forward, it's not going to matter. They're going to play 8 in the box, and despite the fact that at times Deshaun Jackson will beat them, at times Pierre Garcon will beat them, if RG3 can't consistently make teams pay for stacking the box, it's not going to matter what defense they line up in or what he does. They're going to have to rely on him. This offense should be at the very least middle of the road. At the least, it should be middle of the road, because if you got a good running game and you got 2 dynamic threats on the outside, that's not too much to ask. Your quarterback should be able to make good enough reads. Now, obviously Jackson is not, he's a skinny guy. He's not a big guy, so he's not going to run the full route tree. He's not going to go over the middle and take the hit. But they should still be good enough to be a middle-of-the-road offense. And if they're middle-of-the-road on offense and they're at least middle-of-the-road on defense, because that's probably the biggest question outside of RG3, that defense is all of these signings. Like, Terrence Knight talking about their nickname is capital punishment on the defensive line. Hey, you know what? We'll see, because this team has, they've said before that, we're going to be improved. We've done this, we've done that. So are they going to be improved? Remember, the Redskins passed on 2 defensive coordinators named Wade Phillips and Vic Fangio to go out and get
the guy from Detroit.
The guy from Detroit, yeah, I can't think of it. His name is Barry. So, and he he doesn't have the greatest resume. So, they took a gamble there, but we'll see. We'll see if their faith pays off. They feel like they're going to be a more aggressive team on both sides of football. They feel like they're going to be a more physical team on both sides of football. We'll see how it goes. But for now, given all the questions, this is why we picked the Redskins to finish 4th, because there's just too many question marks, and it's not like you're in a bum division.
And really quick, let's just go over a few key games. Obviously, week 1, just so because it'll be the first time we see the starters for a full game, they're at home against Miami. If they want the fans to buy back into this and, they're saying, we improved the offensive line, RG3 is going to have time in the pocket and all this, Miami's no joke. They got a good defense over there with Cameron Wake, who will get to RG3.
And Sue now, obviously.
But
the one thing is, you look at this schedule, their first 2 games are against 2 teams that, at the very best, are middle-of-the-road teams, Miami and St. Louis at home.
Well, then also you got the Giants.
Those are must-win games if you're Washington. You can't go into week 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 because they're all on the road. I mean, well, everything except one game is on the road. You go at the Giants, home to Philadelphia, at Atlanta, at the Jets. You could be staring at 1-5 in that schedule. Honestly, I mean those are losable games. So
very losable, because you were talking about at least one of those teams, if not 2 or 3, could be in the playoffs. When you look at the Giants, the Eagles, Atlanta's kind of iffy. So are the Jets, but at least 3 of those teams, I would say, have a legitimate chance of making the playoffs.
Well, that's the thing. On the road, that just makes it that much harder. Even if you're better than them, you're on the road. So those first 2 games, I think, probably set the tone for Washington's season.
And then,
I hate to say must win, but
and then let's say they win those first 4 or 5 games. Let's get down later into the schedule. After the game against the Jets, they have at home against Tampa, on the road in New England, at home against New Orleans, on the road in Carolina, at home against the Giants, and then Dallas after that at home. Then they're back on the road against Chicago. Buffalo comes in, and they finish at Dallas or at Philly and at Dallas. So, I mean, these are all.
It's a tough schedule for a team that they've got to. The first couple games set the tone for the season. If they can do that, they'll have a much better shot.
Yeah. All right.
Well, let's move on to the
New York Giants.
Football Giants, and I'll let you go ahead on this one, Jeff.
All right. Well, since I've been sticking with the schedule, why don't we go ahead and start there?
Okay.
First game, Sunday Night Football against the hated rival, not their big rival, because that would be Philadelphia, but Dallas. Sunday night opening game.
Well, everybody hates the Cowboys more. So.
Well, yeah, everyone hates the Cowboys, but a lot of people hate the Giants. I hate the Giants. I'm an Eagles fan. So, obviously, you know what you're going to get from the Giants. A good defense. If JPP comes healthy, that's a question. He's still rehabbing that, his ring finger, I think, from his firework accident on 4th of July, which, God, really? You're an NFL player. Keep yourself healthy. That's all I have to say about that. But, I mean, their schedule starts off at Dallas, Sunday Night Football. Then back-to-back games at home against Atlanta, Washington, winnable games. On the road at Buffalo. Buffalo's a question mark to me at this point. They could go in there and lose that game. It's on the road.
Yeah.
At home against the San Francisco 49ers, winnable. The big game for me out of these first, 5-6 games? Obviously, the Sunday night against Dallas, you want to start off on the road on a good foot, 1-0. And then Monday night at Philadelphia. The last time they played at Philadelphia, final score was 27-0 Philly. Eli Manning got sacked 6 or 7 times. Ryan Nassib came into that game in the 4th quarter to try and get a spark going for the Giants, and it didn't work. I mean, over the offseason, they got better. They didn't go backwards. They got better. They got a running back in Shane Vereen, but they also have David Williams there. So is it Shane Vereen or David Williams who's going to be taking the snaps behind Eli Manning?
It's hard to say. I mean, Vereen's better pass receiver, so it's hard to say. But when you look at the Giants, the first thing you have to do is you have to beat your division. They were 0-2 against the Cowboys last year.
0-2 against the Eagles.
They were 0-2 against the 1-1 against Washington. So you can't go 1-5 and think you're going to make the playoffs in your division. Then you play New England's division. So it's not going to be an easy sled. With that said, we're not talking about a bum team here.
They're middle of the road.
They're a middle of the road
team. And could be one of the surprise teams.
And I personally think their offense is going to be good this year. Their offensive line will always hold them back to a certain extent, unless they obviously grow throughout the season.
And they did take Brandon Shreve with their first-round pick.
They did. They got Beckham, and we know about him.
And
I don't need to rehash his highlight film.
And then you got Victor Cruz.
I like Ruben Randall, too, on the outside, and Victor Cruz. That's a tough one, though. Victor Cruz can make their offense really dynamic because he can play inside or outside, but he's mostly better inside if Ruben can stay outside. And Ruben really came on at the end of last season.
Yes.
I mean, he played
Victor Cruz
really
was hurt
well.
a lot last year also. Victor Cruz missed.
Well, he had that major injury against the Eagles.
Yeah.
So you wonder how he's going to come back from that. But defensively, to me, is the question with this team. I don't worry so much about offense. I think they have enough to put up 24 points or more on a week-to-week basis. I just wonder exactly what happens defensively without JPP. You really got a bunch of guys. Spagnuolo's back coaching the defense. That has to help.
Yeah.
He had his best seasons, obviously, coaching their defense.
DRC, they convinced to come back for another year.
Yeah. Again, and also Odell Beckham, I know everybody's tooting his horn, but listen, now is the second year when everybody starts to put you in their game plan. Now they're going to game plan for him every single week. Now they're going to double team and triple team.
And that was already starting to happen a little bit. We saw around the midway point of the season after he made that amazing grab against Dallas. We all saw it. I don't need to rehash the 3 fingers that he used to bring that ball in and all that. But now that people are going to have a lot more film, they can go, well, we know he's going to pull the double move when he, twists left before he turns right.
Right.
And
and that's what I mean. I mean, there's a full season of, well, not a full season because he was hurt for the first 8 games or whatever, but there's a lot of film now on this kid, and I want to see how he adjusts, because I personally believe he's going to come out slow, just because the attention. You're the number 1 now. It's a little bit different. It's not to say he wasn't the number 1 last year, but now it's like
everyone knows,
and they had a whole off season to prepare for you. Like,
if you
the Cowboys had a whole off season to prepare for stopping you. And if you don't think
Chip Kelly and his guys were sitting around, when all the crazy moves that Philadelphia made, I don't think Chip Kelly was sitting back going, well, we don't have to worry about Odell Beckham. He was kind of a bust. No, he's probably, Odell Beckham's one of those guys who keep defenders up at night going, geez, how do I stop this guy?
Right. And but we'll see. The Giants, and also, I can't mention the Giants without mentioning Eli Manning. Listen, the guy's an interception machine. I mean, there's no way you can even get around it. Until the postseason comes, then he's like Joe Montana. I don't know what, he has an inferiority complex or something, but can he play a season that puts the Giants in a position to be successful? Because he can't throw 17, 20, 23 interceptions and think that they're going to be in the postseason. Now he's got enough weapons, I think. Now he should be able to put together a good season. The offensive line is not great. It's above average, probably. That's probably the best term for it. Can they grow? Can they get better? Because Eli obviously needs time. So
the question is, though, at the end of the day, you're in the NFC and you're in the NFC East. A tough conference and a tough division. To win this division, you need at least 12, 13 wins. And to even get in a wild card spot in the NFC, you need 10, 11 wins. We saw Philadelphia won 10-6 last year. In the AFC, they would have made the playoffs.
Right.
And if we didn't have division winners, they would have made the playoffs because Carolina.
Right.
But we'll get to Carolina a different day.
But basically, at the end of the day, the Giants probably,
I say
6-10, 7-9.
I was going to say 8, 9, 7.
Yeah, third place. That's basically
at the end of the day,
the prediction here. Because,
and for all we know, Eli Manning could finally come out. It's a contract year. He knows he needs to play his best. He wants that top dollar money that he wants to.
Well, somebody's still dumb enough to pay him, though. So, it is a contract year, but, we'll see. You're right about that. He should play. He should play good football, but.
We'll just have to wait.
We'll see. It may not even be enough. It just may not be enough. Because one thing about the NFC East is that the firepower is there.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are going to score. The Eagles are going to score. So even if even if Eli Manning's at his best, is it enough to beat Philly or I don't know that. Because his defense is not that good. So
right.
That's the question for them. If they can get balance on both sides of the ball, not have a true weakness. Can we run it well enough? Can we throw it? We know we can throw it. They know they can throw it.
Mm-hmm.
Can they stop the run well enough? Can they stop the pass well enough? Then they're going to be in contention for first or second, or probably more so second. But it just depends. They have to. The Giants, unfortunately, because of the lack of talent. I'm not talking about Odell Beckham, but on defense, they don't have a lot of talent.
They don't have a lot of JPP or
they don't have a lot of game breakers, guys. Luke Kuechly's or those kind of guys. They don't have that. So that means that the other side of the ball is going to have to be great.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that their offensive line is good enough to get them to that point to where they have to be great in order to overtake the Eagles or the Cowboys. So that's why they're being picked from us to finish third.
All right, and the next 2 teams, obviously Philly and Dallas, we kind of have as 1A, 1B. Either one of them can win the division. So we'll start with Philadelphia just because that's how they came up on the list of schedules I was pulling up. Everyone knows what happened over the offseason. Nick Foles gets traded to St. Louis, Sam Bradford in. As an Eagle fan, I'll be watching the training camp stream and praying every time he takes a 3-step, 5-step drop that knee is still A-OK. Chip says the doctors say 10 to 12%. that it's likely he'll re-tear it. Those are good numbers, but is he going to get hit in the knee? You're supposed to tackle high, but we know people are still going to tackle low and try and take him out. Bradford, while he was in St. Louis, the positives I can bring from this: never had a great offensive line protecting him. Never had the weapons. He's coming to Philadelphia, and he's got the good offensive line, and he's got the weapons around him. The defense last year, we know about the secondary. Now you got Malcolm Jenkins returning. Walter Thurman signed on and is competing against Earl Wolf, who didn't even show up for minicamp. He pretty much was on the sideline watching the whole time for that safety spot. And then Byron Maxwell. And then the second corner position is where one of the big battles is, and that's between Eric Rowe, the rookie from Utah, and Nolan Carroll, who signed on a year ago or two from Miami. Honestly, I give the edge in that battle to Eric Rowe just because he's big, and Chip likes his guys big, tall, lanky, and can get in physical at the line and can get in the receiver's face. Let's go look at the schedule. Opening night is Monday night in Atlanta. That's where their defense is going to be tested immediately. They got to stop Roddy White and Julio Jones. One of those guys could easily go for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Against last year's defense, the difference is, can Byron Maxwell stop Julio Jones? The pass rush, I have no worries about that. The 3-4 system, Fletcher Cox, Cedric Thornton, and Benny Logan on the line. Connor Barwin led the NFC last year in sacks. People are going to start game planning for him. Where's he at on the field? Brandon Graham is coming back, and if you look at Pro Football Stats, he was effective. He may not have the sacks, but he was always in the quarterback's face and made quarterbacks hurry the pass. Even though he did that, the secondary was nowhere near good enough to stop guys like Dez, and they still got open. Offensively, Jordan Matthews in his second year, people are going to game plan for him because the last year he was probably the second best rookie receiver. Nelson Aguilar coming in from USC was the first round pick. We'll see what happens there. There's going to be growing pains, but he's very comparable to Jeremy Maclin, who just left to Kansas City. Sackers and Brent Stolk at tight end, and Sam Bradford reuniting with DeMarco Murray, the former Sooners, back together. And if they can both stay healthy, no reason they can't go out there and win week 1. Then week 2, they're at home against Dallas. Early game against Dallas. I kind of wish any of the games against Dallas were later in the season once the playoff hunt starts. November, December. Instead, we have them week 2 and right after the bye. We have them at Dallas. So the first 5 games will really set the tone. At Atlanta, at home against Dallas, on the road against the Jets and Redskins, and then back at home against New Orleans. If they can start this season off 4-1 or 3-2, they're in contention. Because both teams have to face the NFC East and AFC East, thank you. I mean, that's all I really have to say about this team. I mean, I'm an Eagles fan. I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, but I see them either finishing first or second and getting the top wildcard spot.
Oh yeah, for the Eagles, for me, it's first is health. I mean, that's number one. They've got players with questionable injury histories at 2 pretty important positions. I mean, even with Sam Bradford, let's say he plays 14 games, okay? Do we know how good Sam Bradford is? Because I don't. He doesn't play.
Well, I mean, we've seen the flashes.
We've seen the flashes. That's what That's what I'm saying. Have I seen him do it to a degree where I'm saying if he stays healthy, he could be. We don't know. If he stays healthy, he could still be average or above average. First, he has to stay healthy. That's been hard enough. Mm-hmm. Then he has to be able to translate that. Now I know, he's running a similar style to what he ran at Oklahoma, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But again, if he has to stay on the field first for us to even know anything, Mm-hmm. And then, of course, DeMarco Murray is the biggest question mark of all. He's the one that some Eagle fans are saying, we love the signing. Some Eagle fans are saying, what the heck? Because
I'm middle of the road.
Yeah, because it's a hard thing. In a contract year, a guy who hadn't been healthy for 8 years, he missed games 8 straight years. He missed, I believe, I read an article that said he missed something like 30-plus games in 8 years, college and pro. So for the last 8 years, he missed games. And the year that he's in a contract year, he stays healthy. Is that not a red flag to anybody else? I mean,
it was a red flag to Dallas, Philadelphia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All four of those teams wanted him.
Because I watched a lot of Cowboys games last year, and I'm telling you, DeMarco Murray is the kind of guy who he's a good one-cut runner. You know,
he's a north-south.
He's a north-south guy. But Eagle fans, forget the days of what you saw with Shady McCoy breaking out long games. Those are over. If Chip Kelly's game plan was to get first downs, he's got a great back for it. Now I don't know if he'll stay healthy, but
luckily he's not going to be carrying the load all by himself.
He won't. He's got two other guys with him,
and those two other guys are.
But if I'm sharing the load, why would I give a guy $22 million guaranteed? That's my question, because that's the thing that baffles me more than anything.
Yeah.
But Chip Kelly, he's making his decision.
And Chip Kelly is an offensive mastermind. Back-to-back, he took a 4-12 team and took them to back-to-back 10-6.
We're going to revisit this season next year or next offseason, 2 off seasons from now, whether it worked out or not. We're going to revisit it because he's making the kind of moves that make even Eagles fans scratch their heads. We're not sure quite what he's doing. We think we know, but we won't know until we see the season.
And the funny thing is, the one guy who's giving him all the credit in the world, former Cowboys head coach Jimmy Johnson, says he loves the moves that Chip's making.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, Jimmy Johnson, I'm happy for you. You be happy for him too. 21 years ago, you coached. We're happy. But again, just from eyeball test, we don't know what he's doing. Now that doesn't mean he may turn out to be 12-4, 1 seed in the NFC. We don't know.
1 seed's pushing. 2 seed I'll give you. But 1 seed is really pushing.
We don't know. We don't know how the season's going to go. But there's a lot of question marks. That's what we do know. Mm-hmm. Can the young guys on offense grow up quick enough? Can the young guys on defense continue to grow? Did Byron Maxwell, signing him and getting Eric Rowe, did that fix their secondary problem? All of those questions have yet to be answered. We don't know. What we do know is we've got a team that has a good offensive line, and they've got 3 good running backs. And so just from that alone, the Eagles, because you got a good running game, it affects everything. It affects your quarterback will play better, whoever he is. Your defense will obviously be on the field less. So from that perspective,
that's not necessarily true with the offense that Chip runs.
Well, but this is what I'm saying. DeMarco Murray's not going to be breaking off long runs. I just said that. Ryan Matthews doesn't break off long runs. Darren Sproles does, but Darren Sproles isn't on the field that much.
Right. Darren Sproles is basically a third receiver.
There you go. So that's what I mean when I say their running game will be a little more similar to what the Cowboys was last year. First downs. Okay, occasional long runs. First down. Keep the defense off the field. Hope to God, my question for the Eagles, in the red zone, what are you doing? Because I hope for their sake not. But they don't have a, outside, out wide. They're tight ends. They have the tight ends. I understand that perspective. And those guys will give mismatch or matchup problems. Can the rest of the young guys on their offense grow up fast enough to be legitimate threats quick enough?
Here's the one thing I will say really quickly. What a lot of the offensive players did during the offseason is they all got together and trained together. That builds
camaraderie.
Thank you. One of the words I have difficult saying.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't always translate over well into the game, but hopefully, getting together and working out together outside of the classroom and the practice field, some guys' tendencies. And, when you get into a red zone situation, let's say it's 4th and goal, game on the line on the 5-yard line.
Right.
Sam Bradford needs to, make this throw. He's been working out with these guys all season. He knows that Jordan Matthews can run the slam perfectly here against this guy, and he's going to be open, touchdown, game winner.
Right.
Why you didn't do it on the first 3 downs? Now trying to kill clock.
Right.
That's one thing I do want to see change. I want to see Chip Kelly kind of keep the no-huddle system going, but kind of kill some of the clock. You don't have to be up there and 35 seconds on the game clock, snap the ball. That's you don't need that.
Yeah. But that's the one thing that I think as a college coach, a former college coach, I think that game management is one of those things. I don't think he's ever going to change that. I don't. I actually completely agree with you because he is one of the worst game managers I have ever seen. But that's not. It's not
It's
because
the system.
it is the system, but as a coach, you have to learn to adapt too.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, 4th and 1. Why the heck am I running no huddle? There's I should get that first down. You know,
Mm-hmm.
4th and or third and 6. It's okay to run the ball. It's okay to make the team do their last timeout. Put your defense on the field and trust that they're going to make a stop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he hasn't quite gotten to that point where he doesn't know how to
It's not that
put his system away for a minute.
Right. It's not.
Just
not
play
that,
football.
It's not that Chip isn't a good coach. He's shown that he is a. I don't want to say a great coach, but he's a tier 2 coach. He made the playoffs in his first year, but then again, first year people weren't really ready. But he has overcome the adversity of everyone saying his system's not going to work in the NFL. It's working so far. So far, it's working. But we'll revisit them once the season gets going. And
to me, this is the season that tells everybody what they need to know about Chip Kelly because your last 2 off seasons, you got rid of guys who were. They may not have been elite, but they were doggone close to elite. Mm-hmm. They were so good. They were all pro players. We're not talking about bums that Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, that they just let go. Yeah, LaShawn McCoy. Those guys
it wasn't the fact that
were great players. So that is my question. My question is, you have always run your system. When it was in college, you always had a legitimate threat, whether it was LaMichael James, whoever it was. You always had that one guy on your team. It was like, oh my God, we got a game plan for this guy. Well, now they don't really have that. Yeah, okay, you're going to game plan for DeMarco Murray, but you're not scared of DeMarco Murray.
There are some teams that
there are some teams that are scared. But when I say that, I'm saying to you, he doesn't scare me like Odell Beckham, like Dez Bryant, like Antonio Brown, like Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about elite players. He's not an elite player. That's what I'm saying. How is his system going to look without the benefit of an elite player? And I think that was part of his plan all along. He wants to show us that he could be a great coach no matter who's in the system. And that could be ultimately the thing that defines him, or that could be the thing that sends him back to college.
Well, and what the good thing is, and everyone says this, and you've probably heard it also, Chip Kelly's system is a what kind of system? A quarterback-friendly system. The quick reads. What's Sam Bradford good at because he didn't have a great offensive line in front of him in St. Louis? Quick reads. But we've spent enough time on Philadelphia.
Yeah, okay.
So let's move on to Dallas.
All right. And, with the Dallas Cowboys, we all know how their season ended. The catch, the not a catch, doesn't matter.
The lucky break they got against Detroit in the wild card.
Whatever you want to call it. Their season was over. This is a team that, first of all, they took a step forward, going 12-4, ended all those years of 8-8. But drafting well did that. Through years and years, they finally drafted well. They got a good offensive line. Their offensive line, the Eagles' offensive line, is 1-2. So
that's why these teams are 1A and 1B in the NFC East, and either team could win.
The big thing, obviously, not re-signing DeMarco Murray. A lot of people had a lot of problems with that. I personally didn't. You look at what Joseph Randle did in limited time. The guy averaged 7.6 yards a carry, and I know that he had limited snaps.
Yeah.
And usually, when you have limited snaps, your production goes up. That is true. However, with that said, if you just look back at the film on how he ran, that was the thing that impressed me the most about Joseph Randle. One game I pointed to particular. The game against Chicago, DeMarco Murray got like 33 carries.
Yeah.
When he gets to carry 27, the Cowboys are on the 25-yard line, the Bears 25-yard. Joe Randle gets his first carry, he walks it in. He gets a touchdown his first, and that was what he did a lot of the time. Indianapolis, his first carry, he goes and scores. Washington, first carry, goes in. It's like, okay, this guy is showing, because one thing he has that DeMarco Murray does is that shake. He knows how to make those guys miss in spades. Mm-hmm. And when you look back at the tape, DeMarco Murray, a lot of time, he couldn't make that safety miss. He would get to the second level. He couldn't make that safety miss. He couldn't make that corner miss. He didn't have the wiggle or the juke to get it done. It doesn't take away from what he is as a runner. Mm-hmm. It just means that I think Joe Randle adds a little bit more to the table. Then you add Darren McFadden in there, and I think a lot of people. Can Darren
McFadden stay healthy, though?
I think a lot of people, this is an interesting thing to me about Darren McFadden. Darren McFadden, you have to remember, The teams he played on in Oakland didn't have anything. They didn't have a line. They didn't have a quarterback. They didn't have anybody else to focus
but still,
on.
even when he got into the open field, he was getting hurt.
But this is what I'm saying to you. If every game, 8, 9 in the box, right?
Yeah.
Because he was clearly their best player.
Oh, yeah.
On both sides of the ball, probably.
Well, he was with Nalny for a little bit.
Okay. But on offense, they focused on him, and they said, we're going to take him away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling you that he has an excuse for getting hurt. That's what I'm saying. But I am saying that extra attention does mean extra injury.
Yeah.
So, even Adrian Peterson tore his ACL. I mean,
well,
that was before he had a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So the extra attention from defenses means more hits, more injuries, and he doesn't have. Let me put it to you like this: if he winds up being the starter, even if he doesn't win, if he's the second running back, nobody in anybody's game plan room is ever going to say, first we got to stop Darren McFadden. No, they're going to say, first we got to stop Dez, first we got to stop Witten, then we got to stop Romo, then we got to worry about the running. They're not thinking about McFadden. That's why I think he could wind up having a huge year, because one of the good things about being hurt is you're not playing, which means your body technically is fresher than somebody else's, because his first, 7 years in Oakland?
Well, then you can say the same thing then about Bradford then also.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But the difference with Bradford is being a quarterback, it hurts a lot more. Like, if he goes down, like Murray goes down, you got 2 other guys.
Well, we got 2 other guys behind.
But you would, am I in the minority? You'd rather have Bradford, wouldn't you?
I kind of actually like Tebow.
You would say that. But so McFadden has a chance to surprise. And he still has game-breaking speed.
Yeah.
I do keep in mind about McFadden, though, he shared carries in college. So usually when you share carries in college, you normally, most times don't come into the pros and are able to carry a full load, which he didn't when he was in Oakland. Mm-hmm. He has a lot more advantages now being in Dallas, because the defense, it's going to be hard for the defense to really, really focus on him. So I think he could surprise in that way. There's just so many more weapons that he has, even in the passing game. The one advantage he has over Joseph Randle in terms of a training camp battle is he's right now is the better blocker, and that ultimately could swing things his way, because offensive coordinators want their quarterback protected in passing situations. So if they're putting a running back in there, he's got to be able to block. DeMarco Murray definitely can. Excellent blocker. Excellent blocker.
You mean?
No, DeMarco Murray.
Okay.
No, I'm saying I'm just saying that was one thing he did extremely well. Was that he's a great, great blocker. So McFadden may wind up being the starter just for that very reason. I know he can hit the hole. I know he's got the vision. We'll see what happens.
Let's go to the glaring hole in the Dallas team is defense. Do they have a pass rusher?
The one good thing about Dallas is they tried to improve.
They tried, but there's question marks. Greg Hardy out for the first 6 games of suspension. Byron Jones.
4 games.
4 games? Okay, got reduced. Didn't know that.
Yep.
Byron Jones they brought in because they need the corner help because
they're garbage.
It's Orlando Scandrick and Barry Church, and he plays safety.
No, Brandon Carr. Brandon Carr.
Oh, Brandon Carr. Okay.
Brandon Carr. He's an okay corner at this point in his career. He's just.
And then you have that. What's his name? Third corner. He was a rookie, and everyone was all hyped about him when they got him. Morris Claiborne.
Yeah, and I don't know if he comes back healthy or not. I don't. There's rave reviews coming out of camp, but I don't believe any training camp report.
No, everyone looks good in camp.
There's no pads on.
Yeah. Well, some teams play with pads.
Well, yeah, but let me put it like this: there's no tackling.
Yeah, you're down.
No, exactly, 2-hand touch. So, but they got Greg Hardy, and even though he's suspended the first 4 games, Randy Gregory, remember they drafted him.
Yeah.
Then they got the kid.
The question is, can Randy Gregory stay out of trouble?
It's not even him I'm focusing on. It's actually the other kid that they drafted the year before. Not Crawford. Crawford is already on their defensive line. I can't think of who it was, but they have another guy who they drafted last year, and he toward the end of the year started to show some signs.
Mincy?
I think they're going to be fine before Gregory gets there, because the good thing about young players, the more snaps you give them, the better they get most of the time, especially if they're high draft picks. And the two pass rushers were high draft picks.
I'm not.
Look, don't confuse them. I'm not telling you they're going to be top 10 at sacks. Yeah. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they're going to be better than they were last year.
Right.
Where they only had 27 sacks the whole season.
The one guy I give the most credit to on that defensive line is Jeremy Mincy, I believe his name is. Because last year he came on and I didn't know much about this guy. By the time the Eagles played him the second time around, I was like, this is a guy you got to game plan for.
Well, if that's the same Jeremy Mincy that's holding out, then yeah, he's holding out right now. 31 years old. I don't understand. Unless
take the money and run.
Unless his name secretly means Reggie White, there's no way a 31-year-old should be holding out. There's no way. Jeremy Mincy is not a household name. We're not talking about some elite Justin Houston holding out pass rusher.
Yeah.
J.J. Watt. We're talking about a guy who is a league journeyman for a reason. Okay. But the one thing too that people forget is the guy coaching him is the best in the game, defensive line. This guy, Rod Marinelli, he makes mustard out of nothing. I mean, the Cowboys, those guys are not ultra talented. But I think the one thing he has this year is he has more to work with. Then they get Sean Lee back. That helps. That's huge.
Yep.
Subtract Rolando McClain because I don't know what he's doing this offseason.
I thought he resigned.
He resigned. He got in trouble. He suspended first 4 games.
That's right, because he got caught with PEDs. Maybe that's why he came back so great.
I don't even, guys like that. I don't speak on those guys. But the question for the Cowboys is simple. They don't have to run like they did last year, and I mean in terms of numbers. All they have to do is get close to equal production with their offensive line, with Tony Romo, with their weapons. They're going to be fine offensively. Defensively, they have no choice but to be improved. They were 19th last year. They go out, they get some guy.
They got to be better than what they were last year.
They will be better than what they were last year because look at
the teams they have to play all the first place teams. You got to play the Patriots. You got to play Green Bay again. You got to play Seattle again. Those are 3 very tough games.
Agreed, but we saw what they did to Seattle.
In
Seattle, though. But that makes a difference. If you subtract DeMarco Murray, then you have to say, well, we still beat them in Seattle. That makes a difference. So the game's in Dallas this year. So Seattle will be more ready for this game because I think they kind of took Dallas lightly last year.
Yeah, I think everyone took Dallas lightly because everyone had them pinned at 7 and 9, 8.
Yeah. Well, they're a threat now. And as long as you got 9 and 88, they got a shot. That's all that really matters. If those two stay healthy, let me put it like this. If Romo and Dez stay healthy, there's no way the Cowboys miss the playoff. There's no way, unless the offensive line gets hurt. That's the only way. There's no other way that they miss the playoffs because if those two are healthy, then that means they're good enough on offense.
And it's kind of, the league sadly has gone away from being a defensive. It's kind of,
sometimes that's okay.
It's not a defensive league anymore. I mean, if you put this team up against, let's say, the 70 Steelers with the steel curtain, who's going to win that game 9 times out of 10?
Well, I'd love to see it first of all, but the Cowboys they have a good chance at repeating as division champ. They just have to continue to do exactly what they're doing and improve. Training camp battles. I don't think there's many battles so much for the Cowboys. Offensively, especially not.
The real battle is Joseph Randle or Jeremy Patton.
Really is it. But I would say to add to that, one thing I'm keeping an eye on. My breakout player for the Cowboys is probably, I could say Joseph Randle. I think either Joseph Randle or Terrence Williams or both. I think Terrence Williams, it's funny how good he actually is. He's like 6'3", like probably maybe faster than Dez Bryant. But he kind of has those bouts of inconsistency where you're like, okay, I see this guy like take the top off of defense. I see him catch and run for a touchdown. And then for 3 games, I don't know who he is because they don't say his name.
Yeah.
So can he get out of that? Can he make people doubling Dez up and Witten a problem? That's the question, But Joseph Randle, he's going to be one of my fantasy picks. There's no doubt in my mind. I think this guy, my dad asked me last year, he said, who's he remind you of? probably too high of a comparison, Emmitt Smith. That's the first guy I thought of. And it's not because I think he's great like Emmitt Smith was, but with a great offensive line, Emmitt Smith found holes on a regular basis. He could make people miss, even though he wasn't Barry Sanders. He didn't have speed. He wasn't fast. But what he was he was shifty. He knew how to move. He knew how to find lanes. He was good enough in every area. He wasn't great in any area, but he was good enough in any area. He wasn't a fumbler.
Yeah.
To where, and he was good catching the ball in that field.
Enough to really know, is he going to be good at protecting the ball?
I just believe.
Okay.
I believe the guy is dynamic.
Well, so I think we've talked long enough about the NFC East. Yeah. And let's just cut this episode here. We'll leave comments. Let us know what you think about the NFC East. Leave us questions and we'll answer them in the next episode. Until then, I'm Jeff. It's Tristan. Cover 3, signing off.